I'd like to call this meeting to order. Time is 12:17, Wednesday, May 29th. And we're not what, the Utilities Advisory, City Utilities Advisory Committee meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, before we go any further, I'd like to, maybe it's already part of the curriculum, I haven't seen anything, but I would sure like to have our responsibilities and our role of our aim as a committee defined again, because I think, so maybe that's already part of what you
Well, that's probably one of the things that we're gonna tackle today, before we get to the presentation, and that, we had, one of our board members, and we talked about this before, that did change the name of our committee, and then we were told we couldn't talk about water, and I said, well, I'm gonna talk about water all I want. Not reappointed, so I guess I'm doing right. But, bottom up, water is part of utilities. We were the secondary water ad hoc committee, now we're the City Utilities Advisory Committee meeting, so, or committee, which means that we can talk anything that involves utilities, and water is part of the utilities. Am I correct in that, Mr. Mia?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And
So,
I think that is, council is talking about, there will be an agenda item, the next council meeting, to give you some responsibility. And I don't know what will be today. Councilman Marte Martinez called me and said he's gonna put an item to have utility committee look at some of this issue. I know there is talk about impact fee, there is talk about a lot of issues, because this rate increase, as you know, it was a very hated and debated topics. But really, it should not be, because I get a lot of blame for this one, but I've been telling them for last 3 years.
yeah,
And city council and the previous city managers, they didn't wanna listen, they didn't wanna do anything with it. And so yeah, I got blamed that I stopped approving subdivision. I gotta do something. You know, I can violate my license and also have city in trouble with the TCQ. And then the bosses are come and gone, city council come and gone, but we are here.
and that, to me, that's the weakness in this group, that we know if there's a need, we don't know how to go beyond that, to go to present to city council. Like I said, we had a member that arbitrarily felt that he should go out there and talk bad about the group without our knowledge, and that the city council acted on it. That's what was surprising. Without any body being there saying, yes, we concur, or a force of one changed what our role was. And I don't find it wrong, because I'd rather be the utilities committee versus just one thing, because it encompasses a lot. You don't dig a sewer line without water and other utilities that go through, the gas companies going,
Yeah.
and whatever you do. So I'd rather, the name to me sounds stronger than what we were before. We only have one main goal. And we know that the goal, what the parameters are and everything else on that. So, I talked to Mark Martinez, he's the one that appointed me to the position, or reappointed. So I've got another, 4 years with him there. So the bottom line is, this town continues to grow. I'm in real estate, and I see the effect that the South not being able to construct beyond Cerrito Lindo is creating to this town. Houses are 1,200 square feet being sold for 150,000. And my concern there is that we as a community don't understand why. We just pay. And we need to put it out there. So without any further comment, I think we're gonna get some direction. And that was the comment that I got from my point.
And just to tell the committee, the rate increase we just pushed, this is for next 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I told city council, look, the master plan which was done in 2015, which is we're gonna redo the master plan again, and I think this will be a good opportunity for this committee to get involved and come up with some plans. They want us to have water reuse plan, some of the other water issues. But people don't realize things is getting expensive every day. And, you will see the presentation, we just met with my water distribution superintendent from last year to this year, just the chemical, he's telling me, and we just had a screening thing. He said, sir, I need $1 million more for chemical. So wait a minute, from like 1.3 to 1, he said, yeah, the river is 3-4 times more turbid, so we're just pumping chemical like. And so these are the issues we face, which say that we still have to treat the water. But at the end of the day, so in his case, he has $9 million budget. Now he's looking at putting $1 million, so he's telling me, well, I'm gonna find the money. And then we don't have people, so the overtime budget is off the roof, because we can't find people to work.
Yeah, it's bad.
He has 9 vacancies. Can't find people.
It's because I really think the general public really needs to be educated. That water resource is just taken for granted.
Yeah.
Everybody just thinks that, they don't know, they just think you open that faucet and there's just an infinite supply of water, and they don't understand even, and we've been blessed for like the last 5 years, we haven't seen a severe drought, but that, we're gonna see a drought sooner or later, and then the pressure that, people just don't understand that the population growth that you have. I mean, you look at like even San Antonio, I saw, what is it, already third largest city in the state. So
And it hasn't
it's-
slowed down.
Seventh in the US?
7th in the US.
And it
then-
hasn't slowed
And then
down.
what you have going on in Mexico, we only own half of that tributary and that waterway. And I mean, Mexico puts a lot of pressure, and people don't understand, that's our only source of water.
Yeah.
God forbid, something happens to that water. Man,
I do agree.
it's gonna be a major reality check, but it just, it's a resource that everybody just thinks that we have an infinite supply of water, and we're never gonna run out. We're never gonna run into, people they don't look at the droughts and, and then they're coming. I mean, we're gonna see, those droughts come back.
Because people's perception is not there.
Right.
This is the water is so cheap, people don't care, but
Right.
people like you guys buy water for the ranch.
We have to
You don't
produce
go, when
it.
you buy bottled water, you don't go waste the water like this. And people have no idea that we are charging you $2 for 1,000 gallons. That's,
That's.
nothing is cheaper than that.
Are we talking about just regular water or bottled water?
Portable water,
Bottled water?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this
That's
little
all.
bottle of water is stored costs you,
At least $1.
Yeah.
That's a good buy.
$1.50.
I'm gonna do this experiment. My boiled water, dirty water, because I saw this guy do the same thing. He put salt and a bunch of stuff into this coffee pot. He boiled it. I said, I'm gonna turn this water, I'm gonna make it rain inside this room. And what he did, he boiled water, he got another pan, put it up there for a while. You see the steam coming out. And then he put ice on that. What happened there is the same thing that the air conditioning is doing. It's picking up moisture and going from water, gas to water liquid. Now, if you do this, I'm gonna do this with a coffee pot, and I'm gonna run a plastic pipe through here, and I'll put sacks of ice, and I'm gonna boil it. I know what's gonna happen, but what I wanna find out is, if I boil a gallon of water, do I get a gallon of water over here?
No. No.
That's what I'm gonna try,
No, you won't.
no?
I guess we
But I
should
know
if we
that I can
proceed
convert
with
that, the water boiling
See,
liquid.
what you're talking about there, that's called condensation.
Yeah,
And that you're refining the water and converting from gas to liquid, removing the toxins and everything else. When you do that, the cost to get that little cup of water over there is gonna probably be 50 times what we're paying for our water right
the
now.
energy.
So is it a viable thing to supply how many millions of gallons a day to Laredo?
About
No.
the
I understand.
You need a refiner.
I
You need a refiner.
understand, but I'm saying I'm gonna do it because I wanna find out really what you're talking
Yeah.
about. That if I get, if I use a quart of water here,
Part
a
of it,
pint,
part of it's gonna go into the atmosphere, the other part's gonna go into condensation, and you're gonna get something. But the
Yeah.
return
But-
on that, because the fuel to do that is, and the ice to cool it down,
Can you do the presentation?
refrigerant and
Because I
everything
need
else,
to-
so.
but you gotta remember that this water coming out here is drinking water,
Yeah, I know.
potable water.
Stay there.
The same thing Mother Nature does.
Go to the presentation.
Yeah.
Up in the
A
atmosphere.
little bit bigger,
Yeah.
a little bit- and a little bit bigger
We can't-
perspective.
Well, I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Oh, you're leaving?
Yeah, right.
No.
All right, we need to move on, because otherwise, I know we all have big ideas. But the bottom line is, we have a presentation, Mr. Mia.
Yeah, what, Mr. Chairman, what I did, this is the presentation we did to city council. Based on that, they approved. So this is the ordinance. These are the two ordinances they approved for the water and sewer. And since I have to hold the computer.
It's not on screen.
No, it's not on the screen.
No.
I think you're at split screen.
It was there. I don't know what happened.
No. I think you slide it like all the way across.
Let the youngsters do it.
Yeah.
They'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm put on the spot.
Getting the mouse to
Let
work.
the-
So you have to look at the icon, is it on or off?
Turn the mouse
But
on.
that's,
But it's not, you can get it to connect.
Yeah.
Maybe. the
Just like
keyboard.
my son goes, no, Dad, not like that, well, then you do it.
There you go, it's his HDMI.
Yeah, leave it up to the experts.
And how he started was by turning off my computer. I'd be working on it, hadn't saved this before, they saved automatically.
It was there, it was there for a minute.
What the? And then, he'd be turning it.
Why don't I have a mouse? I don't know.
So it's,
That process has been going on for
yeah.
probably 100 years, because they developed a steam engine.
But you know something? If I can do this
Uh-huh.
in a larger scale, if it doesn't take, you don't have to freeze it, it's just cold condensating. Yeah, you got boiled water outside one of those big buildings que tienen.
That's how you make moonshine, buddy.
Yeah.
That's how you make
Yeah.
moonshine.
Well, anyway, what I'm trying to say is that
Okay.
you're caught.
You're already in the MI, oh, I see.
The fuel to
I
boil
see.
it.
yeah, or something.
And to cool it.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying, I think it's.
What comes out here would be not cost effective, just supply of water to the city.
You've been traveling a lot,
They're gonna have to build their
You've been
refinery.
traveling a lot or no?
Quite a bit.
What I'm saying,
Quite a bit.
this line could run.
Well, we went to Asia in the
There
first
could be.
part of the year. We
That's
were there
all
for
right.
3 weeks.
The cover on that thing, you can really get the screen.
Past you there, over and up over there.
Went to Cambodia.
So I say,
to
if you could
the
go,
Maldives
get one of those.
Maldives.
Maldives.
They say I've
And
seen
they
it
let
on
you run a
TV.
pipe across. You pour
Singapore
water
and
and
Bangkok.
Enlarge that one.
What's
Your
that
Bangkok
called?
is a big
Singapore
question.
is
How clean?
Beautiful, yeah.
Well, it's
No, because. see,
No,
I was blown away.
See, you can't enlarge it.
Take it over here.
Mira, y se van experimentando con agua de air
I
conditioning.
think it's gonna
Oh,
be
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
world.
Wow.
It's these ruins from like the 12th, 13th century in Cambodia. Phenomenal, just
Yeah.
magnificent.
Wow.
And then a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago, we were in Italy for about 8 days.
Unos
Enjoyed
de
that.
both evaporated.
Drove around.
Este es uno de esos de air conditioning. y el
We
otro
were
de allá.
away from Rome, thank God.
It took a month,
You
porque
know,
se
and,
vaporizaba
we were out in the
nomás.
countryside, we stayed at a palace,
What
I
happened?
mean, a castle. And it was
Eso
just
que
Get a room there?
que se quedó.
Yeah, that was
Look
neat.
at this.
Wow.
So
Right, right.
we've been
Well,
puttering
from the air
around.
conditioning.
You got to. Where's the ladder quarters?
You're watering.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
All boys doing good?
We're great.
Okay.
Thank God.
Go ahead, Mike, you can.
Yeah, we can, we just get past the first slide here, we'll, y'all presented this. We hired a financial consultant to take a look at our rates and other cities' rates and look at our capital improvements and come up with a suggested rate increase for us. And some of the things that he told us about was, most cities are having 5 to 6% increases per year in their utilities. you'll see another study that's on AWWA had done, found the same numbers. And that the expected rates across the United States are gonna triple in the next 15 years. The population is exploding and water's becoming, a precious resource, already is. Most of those rates are beyond our control. The things that cost us money, I don't control. I don't control chemicals, I don't control electricity, I have very little control, I don't control PVC. I don't control when the president puts tariffs on stainless or aluminum and copper, and the things that utilities use are not cheap items.
Call from you.
So, our costs are going up.
Alex,
Okay.
Alex,
Your phone.
your phone. Your phone.
That, right now, everybody says we've had a continual annual rate increase of 2%, which is true. A problem has been our costs have been going up faster than that. So the only thing it's done is been beneficial, but it hasn't covered the expense. And the city is looking at, upward of $180 million that we need in capital improvements, and we can't get by with 2% increases that way.
And this is the.
This is that study, yeah. You look at that, goes from 1998 to 2014, and the blue line, the lowest line, is the consumer price index. Well, that kind of shows you what your basket of food at HEB looks like, things that you normally buy. But water and sewer rates are buying other items that are much more expensive, and those rates have been going up over 5 to 10% for the last few years. Another kind of the same, this is your water bill, so the left side is dollars. And look how the lines of water and sewer are increasing faster than consumer price index. Price of water and treatment is just going up faster than your milk and toilet paper and vegetables.
Yeah, but remember, your milk is heavily subsidized by all of us.
No, yeah.
The farm bill.
Right,
If
yeah.
not, your milk will be $8 or $10 a gallon.
So here's what the consumer price index is at 2.4, and here's where water and wastewater rates have been averaging. And this is a 10-year study. So these are our current rates, where we stand, and it's a volumetric, we increase. The more you use, you get a higher rate. It's called a conservation structure. So we're trying to get you up to not use over 50,000 gallons. You'll get charged $5 per 1,000.
What is that right there, just where it's 3-inch, 2-inch, is that?
That's your meter size.
Okay, meter size.
Right.
Those are, you have a minimum rate,
Mhm.
that based on your meter.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is if everybody has a small line,
Mhm.
a small 5/8 inch line, then they're not going to, all at once, they start using the water, well, I'm not gonna use a line. If everybody has a 2-inch line they start using, my system has to be able, I have to have all that capacity. So it's kind of a demand type
Right.
structure. So like, you want a big meter, means you're telling me you need me to be ready to give you a lot of water.
Right.
And it's that prep, being prepared that we have to be ready for. So that's true with commercial and residential.
And this is your wastewater rate?
There's Laredo and our state average. I saw someone come into city council and they gave a number for the border average. Didn't think that we should be compared to the state. We need to compare ourselves to other border cities. I don't agree with that. We're not like other border cities. We have, McAllen is very flat, and the city limits of McAllen look like that. Laredo is a spider. We go out with legs. It costs us more money. So, it's one way to compare yourself, but we were still lower than the border average that he submitted. So there's a lot of factors that go into the rate, not just your general area, specifics about your terrain. So here's, geography. We have, elevation. McAllen doesn't have elevation. This is what it kinda looks like.
And remember, these numbers are from 2017 now.
Yeah.
Because we hired the consultant in 2017, though we just presented to city council. So every city went up also, again.
And the consultant made a great point in the presentation, is you don't need to look to try to be the lowest. You just need to be worried that if you're the highest, you know? I mean, then you got a problem. I don't think you got you kinda have a problem if you're either one, the lowest or the highest, you probably do have problems. You're in the middle, you shouldn't be too worried.
Yeah, and me and Mike, our philosophy is, as I say, we don't want to be not the highest, but we also want to provide the quality water to our citizen. We don't want to have violation from TCEQ, and we have adequate source of water. And so, yeah, when you are cheap, you get cheap stuff.
Mhm. Let's see, commercial, 20,000. Again, we're not in the highest group.
And the reason we pick this number, most of those small business, which is almost 80% of our commercial customers, use less than 20,000 gallon. Most of the average resident use 8,000 gallon.
So what is like a car wash, automatic car wash?
They will be higher, they are not.
What's their monthly use more or less?
I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the size.
I'd have to go.
Because, I mean, you see them all over town and the wonders.
But remember, the
I mean,
car wash, 90% of a recycling system. So they use 10% water, 90% recycle.
They capture.
Yeah, they're not return back.
Yeah.
They're smart.
You know, and you have a good point on that elevation change. I was at Killam Lake this morning, the Chuck Owen Creek on Clark, and there's one of it's an old water line, and if you see the bank there behind that warehouse, I mean, the elevation changes, and I can see there's an old water line that runs through there. It was partly exposed, and the elevation changes,
Yeah, we're not a flat community. No.
and that's right here, right in the center of
And the
town.
water plants are in the hole and they gotta push it all up.
Right. You compare yourself to the valley, what's the valley? Well, it's flat.
Very flat.
Very flat, and that's why that was good for farming, because it was easy just to dig canals at one depth and it'd move water miles.
Yeah.
We can't do
The
that.
channels and the canal system they have.
Right, we have the electricity, we gotta pump it to try to do that.
See, people don't know.
Yeah.
No, people don't know.
I think
It's
water
like,
flows up.
it's like just water is water, water is water. Well, getting it to you is part of the problem.
Yeah, because now what, you got water all the way to Colombia, you've had it there for a while, and you have it all the way to Pueblo Nuevo, and you've gotta keep that.
We got 59, 359, like I said, 35, Mines Road. Where we deliver is like
That's 18
fingers.
That's 18 miles almost.
And
That one
all the
shot.
way to Rio Bravo.
Yeah, that's another
But
18.
when it comes to irrigation, farming especially, you still have that factor that you lose 50% of the water on the surface to evaporation and water runoff. And
Sure.
I solved that problem with my underground water system. It eliminates that water
Next,
runoff,
yeah.
eliminates evaporation.
See,
It'll
what
take
they
a long
studied-
time to do it.
What this study did, because last 10 year, average growth was 2%. So the study projected that average growth. And also it projected our operational cost and look at the capital improvement program. Because this is the capital improvement program we need to do for next 5 years. And as you can see, wastewater is more expensive than the water because it costs more money. That's why wastewater rates are higher than the water rates.
And we have built-in line replacement repairs. It doesn't mean that there won't be all of a sudden, okay, we've repaired this, a new line come in that we have to spend more money. We can keep repairing, some of our lines are 40, 50, 60-year-old.
And if they're as tired as I am, it's time to get replaced.
Rhea and I just found out that we have some pumps, 59-year-old
Older
pumps.
than I am, 59-year-old.
59?
Call that contractor.
Jefferson Water Treatment Plant, call it contractor, that's right.
Or that manufacturer.
Yeah.
BJ, Byron Jackson pumps.
And these are some of the CIP. This is for the water system. And please remember, the water system has a lot of regulation by TCQ. You have to have enough storage tank, you have to have pressure. Those are, so most of these capital improvement because of the TCQ regulation. We were actually in a violation. We had a consultant and there was exception list, so he did some study and we submit exception. So TCQ give us, take away the violation, but we can do every year and, hey, give me exception again. So they will catch it up, so we need to invest money on doing this improvement. And this is the wastewater, and as you can see, most of the money is for the new treatment plant. As all of you are from Laredo, you know, Zacate wastewater treatment plant is 55 or 60 year old. And there was planned to shut down that plant for last 15 years. And to shut down that plant, we need to build a new plant. And we need to transfer the waste. Hello?
Sorry, I'm late.
No, we just, you're Mr. Makers, no?
Nice to meet you. Rupert. Gentlemen, how you doing? My brother. Nice to meet you. I'm done, thanks.
And these are the bonding, of course, we use the bond money to do all this improvement. And you don't sell bond all at a time, because even if we sell bond, we can do all this project at a time. We don't have enough people, we don't have enough engineer to do those kind of work. So you do we do a couple of them at a time. So that's why it's staggered. Otherwise, you will see the rate increase will be 50% altogether. That's why rate increase are, first year is a higher because of the Manalas wastewater treatment plant. That's the biggest project we need to do. And part of the consultant, what they did, he also looked at the cost of service for next, until 2028, operational cost, and all the other costs, chemical and employee cost. Because as you grow, last 7 years, we didn't have a single personnel to utilities department. We had 10,000 more accounts. Still have to provide service. On top of it, I can't find enough people. I got like 50 vacancy.
There's a, where I used to work, we would tap into Alamo colleges in San Antonio.
Mhm.
They started a program where they're graduating wastewater operators, and I was speaking to the plant operator in San Antonio, and I just told him, I was like, Sterling, would you come down here and kind of spend some time, or, you know, provide us some of your avenues to some of these
The
students?
issue is the pay.
Yeah.
Our minimum wage for labor is $11. My plant operator, when we hire, we can only pay $11.69. These are some of the things we've been telling council, that our pay scale is so backward.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work.
I think people have to value what makes our cities run as we anticipate. You know, we expect to live in a first world country, right? We expect water, and your roads, and wastewater and trash. So as a city, we have to focus on investing in the things that keep us moving.
And of course, oil industry doesn't help. I got, of the 50, I got almost 20 vacancy for truck drivers. Can't find them.
They're all in the Permian
Yeah,
Basin.
because we are offering them $13, and they are getting $28.
Would you guys be accepting of like, there's a program trying to start apprentice drivers, people that want to get into driving, but they
Sure,
can't.
they'll
graduate?
learn
Yeah, we do. We usually.
But no guarantee that you have to work,
Right.
or you have to guarantee a 2-year stipend or something, you know, that way.
Most of the position, we have requirement of 1 year to get the license, except the heavy equipment operator 2 and 3, because those are, we pay high rate because you have the A license. But usually we give 1 year, we send them to training. If they don't pass the test, then we have to let them go. We can't even find those people.
I'm sorry, but I thought, I was under the influence that the truck drivers actually got a pay rate increase to be competitive.
Yeah, $1, $2 increase. That doesn't mean competitive. And then that was the, I mean,
We did the same thing, gave them like a $2 raise and
Yeah.
still.
And what council did, I mean, that was not a right thing. You giving little bit higher rate to the new hire. I got people working in 18, 20 years. They're making $2, $3 more than the new guys just started. I mean, and so why is fair for these guys? You know? But everything costs money, but when you give a pay raise, you cannot just give, like the last 2 years, council pushed the minimum wage, now it's $11, used to be $8. But anything over the labor, none of those people were moved. So we have supervisor making 50 cents more, and they say, hey, I'm responsible for these 10 people, I'm only making 50 cents more. And I've been here for a long time.
That's a tough pickle.
Yeah. And as a director, everything is my fault. You are not doing anything to me.
Yeah. You too, Mike.
Yeah, you too.
I've been there. That's why I'm self-employed now.
So as most of you know, every October, the rate was going up 2%. But the 2% was not enough, so that's why the consultant proposed a higher rate increase, and this is the proposed rate increase. And this is for the commercial rate. Of course, commercial will be a higher rate increase than the residential. And really the percent mean nothing, because percent of what? So this is the breakdown that how the rate is going from 2% to 5% on your resident for next 5 years, and the volumetric of the same way, and from 2023 it's gonna go back down to 3%. The commercial, you see a bigger jump from 2% to 20%, and then next year from 2 to 5%.
Yeah, the 2023, that's saying that the town is growing no longer.
Yes, but we can only project on the CIP. That's why we're gonna do a master plan, and I hope council will agree that you guys will get involved. So let's plan for next 40 years.
Yeah.
And,
I won't be around to worry about it anyways.
oh,
Neither is your expertise.
And these are the wastewater also the same way. And this is what's going on in the wastewater. Remember, this is for the next 5 years. And as I said, the numbers like 5%, 6%, what it really means? It means that people who use 5,000 gallons, they will see a combined rate increase of $2 if you use 5,000 gallons of water. As I said, the average, almost 73% people use less than 10,000 gallons. So if you use 10,000, you will see a maximum rate will be $3.55. Remember, this is already included the 2%. So this is not extra. This is included in the 2%.
So we have a quick question. You know, a lot of the, I guess, the heartburn that was brought up at the meeting was the poor can't pay more, right? Or nobody wants to pay more. I don't. But do we have a? They were trying to attribute that, you know, there's more people that live in a lower income house as opposed to people that were not in poverty. And so is there data to back that up in a sense where, you know, usage in residential was higher in the south because of that, or in certain areas?
Yeah, we look at, remember, this is a utility. It is poor, rich, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like same thing, your electricity bill, your telephone
yeah.
bill.
Doesn't discriminate.
But people who are in social security, we have about 7,000 customers who are over 65 years. That means they don't pay, they don't have late fees. And we look at it, what's their average use? Most of these people are elderly people. They don't use even more than minimum, the 2,000 gallons. Because if you're saying that I have no money and here you're using 10,000 gallons. I mean, I can tell you, my home, I don't even use 6,000 gallons of water because it's me and my wife. We are a whole day, we are out. When my son is in home, yeah, they take a 1 hour shower.
Gotta go over your own.
Charge the kids more.
Right.
But not, I guess it's,
Howard on power.
People are gonna have to learn the term Navy showers.
Right?
Yeah.
or giving out,
And those are the
Down
things
to a
we
gallon.
all do. You
or shower
save.
timers to know awareness.
I mean, there is a lot of way to save water. I mean,
So where does this put us on the development growth? At us being zero on no new projects coming in currently, correct?
but now we are approving because council approved the rates, so we are able to approve all the new subdivisions. But this is what we know for next 5 years. I mean, now all of a sudden, that's why we're gonna start doing the new master planning. Remember, city was supposed to grow for,
We go back to the same thing, when you speak, and I see you speak to the city council, and you say, we need capital improvement, we need this, we need to do that. It falls on deaf ears, and I don't understand why, because they took an oath to help the city grow and father the city. I'm just curious.
We have a learning curve here, Laredo. I don't know if you figured that out. There's a learning curve.
By the time they learn, they're ready to get out, you know?
It's 360
Yeah,
degrees.
it's a pretty big learning curve.
But with that, I think accountability, I think, I always picture that there should be like some sort of playing card or scorecard underneath the councils and, hey, you voted on the previous one this way and you shuffled
Yeah.
money in this direction. To get some eyes on the prize, right? Because if we're not gonna be tracking, I mean, if you don't have any money at the end of the account, you look back at your account, you're like, oh, that's why I didn't have any money.
You would think water would be a little higher on everybody's radar, and it's
More
not.
than-
It's
more than
not.
likely.
Nobody cares about water, you
Well,
know?
I think it's very important, since we are all on this committee, we have been appointed by our prospective council members, and each one of us needs to get back to the person that appointed us and report back to them, and then begin by impressing on that particular person. You just go to your man, but everybody gets covered that way, and the
Well, we
problem
need to
should
take the same
become more
message.
obvious
Yeah,
that
we
way.
need to
That's
take the
a
same
very
message.
good
Very
point.
important.
That's a
The
really
same
good
message
point.
though.
and it's unfortunate, and I can tell you, I know it's not happening. How many times a councilman who appoints you, we have probably 20, 25 committees. That means they appointed 25 people. They should be meeting with these people at least once every 2 months, say, hey, let's see what your input is. They
But-
appoint you, then,
Don't wait for the councilman to call you.
You have to go.
You go to
Go
him.
back,
We
yeah.
met today, we met yesterday, this is what we discussed, this is what was important.
Right.
Just,
To
you
keep
need to
them-
know these things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I know
Yeah,
one
good
thing
point.
that you can't have a quorum, because that is the meeting. So, perhaps we can have some workshops where we bring 2 or 3. Each one of us invites, this month we're gonna invite so-and-so and so-and-so, and run through these things. Because, I mean, Ruben is here, and I know, I've heard his spiel, I've heard Howard's spiel on water and everything else. And when I talk to the public, they have a misconception of why we're a committee, right? And so it's just, the word's not out there, and I try to make people understand, and it's like talking to each other, you know what I mean? It just,
yeah, because people don't wanna listen to
Yeah.
you. People listen to the
not
Facebook,
very sexy.
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever
It
is on the
just-
Facebook, that's the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And two,
Yeah.
what happened too is Beagle Road left a bad taste
Oh,
with
yeah.
a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, you go back and you talk to the constituents and you talk to the leaders and everybody wants to blame, well, y'all need to go fix, everything goes back to Beagle because it was 100 million, wasn't it? It was 100.
Yeah.
And everything goes back and there's still continued unsolved problems there, and, it's a blame game, and then, everybody, well, how could you all increase, and what happened at Beagle? Everything goes back to Beagle.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, that's why you don't see, we are not spending any money from this rate increase to fix LP.
Right.
That's why we have a lawsuit pending, and I was the first one convince city council that we need to sue them because ratepayer, I'm a ratepayer too. As a ratepayer, I have the right to know what happened. We are lucky, we have very dedicated people work there. I mean, the plant is supposed to be fully automated, it's not. But we produce quality water. We have all kind of issues. pump failed, this one, that one, but we're still producing 18 million gallon quality water.
But see, that's it right there.
18?
The people I talk to is, so what are you doing about the water shortage? And when I get through talking to them, they go, so why are we worried about it? I said, no, that's not it. We only have one source, and we're continuing to grow. We need to buy the other source, but we just can't have it standing by. We have to do something with that, so that we don't need it to really supplement because we don't have a shortage. So we're in a quandary, right?
Not just a shortage. What happens if we get contaminated beyond
That's
the
my,
boiling point?
that's always,
my
that's
worry.
always what I
Yeah.
tell them. I said, look.
Corpus Christi
we're-
had it
we're-
after twice.
Yeah, well, Tennessee, you know, you can
Tennessee,
look,
Austin-
Michigan, all these
Austin just
places.
went through
But
last.
here's
That wasn't their raw water source.
right, but where's the hazmat route
Corpus wasn't their source.
in relation to our water plants? It's above the
I
water
thought it was
source.
Lake Mathis.
No,
No.
they have pollution issues.
Yeah, but so what I'm getting is that, people don't understand that in today's world, somebody wants to hurt us and people further down, all they gotta do is do something up the north, and they don't have to do it on a bridge, they can just back up a truck and empty it
Well,
away.
we don't have
and
to
we're
go
done.
too far. Look at what happened at Lake Donlop
Yeah.
to the dam. Just think if that happened in Falcon.
Right.
You know, and all these dams are getting old and stretched. If something like that happened, did you see that? Y'all see the video on that?
No, have
It
you
just-
seen the sinkholes at Amistad?
Yeah, yeah.
There, I mean, it's just like that, the water just boiling, going down and going into the aquifer. God only knows which direction, because it's probably going into the San Antonio aquifer. But that water there, there's some whole, I
I mean,
mean,
if we lost, had a dam, you know, freeze.
And believe me, we are worried about all those things. That's why when we hired a consultant, we actually took DeWitt County's proposal and plug in the number, and I presented to council. That's why when they start asking me, I did present it to you guys. You didn't make any motion, so how do I know you were serious about it?
right.
Because you gotta do 30% rate increase.
But you have the water, of course, you got plenty of water.
Yeah, so we got plenty of water, just waiting there.
By the way, having water and mixing water, two different things.
Yeah.
Water's not water. Flint, Michigan is an example. That came from this source, that came from this source. So there's a study to make sure that they marry well in our pipe system. It's like
One of
putting
the-
a different type of blood
The
in
best
you.
things with the secondary water source coming from Dimmitt County would be the city of Laredo would own the utility company after the service is paid. So Laredo would be in prime area to be the kingpin of water for South Texas.
But they don't see that.
Edinburgh's gonna beat us to the punch. We're gonna be buying water from Edinburgh. That's what's gonna
Hey,
happen.
they beat us on the Rio Grande.
I mean, the valley's way ahead of
They
us. in
control the
water.
Rio Grande. We
Way
don't. We
ahead
have
of
to
us.
buy
Here's a
water.
copy of that MOU we have
Right,
with them.
yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, that, you know,
Look at what's happening around, like in Texas. Hemp, industrial hemp is gonna be signed by the governor, hopefully very soon. It passed the House, passed the Senate. Here's an opportunity for South Texas, whether ranchos or farmers in Dimmitt County, to farm industrial hemp at a good profit, to change the world. Plastics. We need water to farm.
well,
There's no water in Webb County, man. There's none in Jim Hogg and in Duval, not sustainable water. We're opening up a new world, and yet we're cut off because our Rio Grande ain't gonna cut it. Not for the kind of farming that we can do here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Webb County might miss the mark on the farming. I'm gonna go wherever they're friendly to it.
yeah.
It's that simple. The,
What about some farmland? I mean, realistic.
What did Edinburgh do for
That's
what I was wondering.
400 acres.
They're trying to get the Wilcox aquifer and pipe it down there. And they would be the kingpins of water for South Texas for the next 300 years.
40 million gallons per day.
Actually,
Have you read the studies on
we
the
can,
aquifer?
provide
It's
more than
amazing.
50 million.
Take
per day.
120 million gallons a day
But
for
that-
30 years, no recharge, and won't affect it 3%.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that our council, because it keeps changing, we get reappointed by a different person or et cetera, the message is not getting back to them to do something now and not until
The
it's too late.
seriousness of it.
So how can we get it serious? Because a rate increase ain't gonna happen until we pull the first drops of water from it. That's how it's gonna be. There's gonna be no pay in advance for it. Because I think this is a big issue as much as sewer is. This is infrastructure. As much as PERC needs to be done,
Yeah.
as much as we need to get rid of our city dump and move it 20 miles away, infrastructure for civilization is a requirement. You know, I mean, just with the landfill, there's 2 schools 750 yards away from it currently. The principals don't let the kids out to breathe that air. But yet, toxic was the buzzword.
Yeah.
Dude, your sink is toxic.
But that's what I'm talking about.
It's too easy to manipulate the masses in the community. So we need to be able to get to our council members and be factual with them and not plan for the next 8 years while I'm on council.
It's not even
para
8
para
for you.
mí, excuse my French, pero
But that's right.
I
chinga.
think, just looking at all the different moving parts that are happening both with water and wastewater, I think everything has to at least be put on the table. And the avenues of which direction we'll go and what it'll lead us to should be at least displayed, and then it
Yeah.
make a strategic move, because it's one thing to market our own product, right? I mean, everybody's a good cheerleader for themselves. But in the end, a lot of our infrastructure projects are for the collective whole. So
Yeah.
Right.
there's some that, I'm more aware of than others, but I think everybody knowing what's on the table, so that way when we all go to design and we voice our opinions, we're all aware of what we're talking about. I don't want it to be, hey, well, I knew about this plan, and if this happened, we can have it listed out, go this direction, it's this duration, this amount of money, and this is what we get. Let's have outcome-based decisions, because, it's one thing to champion, I was just explaining this the other night. I said I was a big sustainability greenie weenie, right, for a long time. And I worked at Austin Energy, and I worked in the water department in San Antonio, and this is what we talked about, this is what we did. And I worked in real estate, and not that I've gone any further, but the practicality of things,
Yeah.
how do you really get to where you want to go?
Yeah.
I used to
We
install
need
solar
to have
panels,
some end goals,
So
we need to have some end goals here to tackle one at a time. We can't do them all at one time. Take the most important one. The secondary water source, at one point, has been the most important one because of the single source that we have. It's not like we have wells drilled all around here, one goes bad, well, we got 15 more. No, we don't, we have one river. But what I'd love to tackle, in respect to expense and everything else, and what monies will be coming in, is how can we contract with a water company, and what are we gonna do with our water? Maybe we can start feeding the outskirts of town versus trying to pipe it all the way down to South Laredo or whatever. I mean, that's where your expertise and my expertise comes in, on how we could do that to convince them to go ahead and do a contract. My fear is just what you said. Somebody is gonna help us get it, it's just the hell of them.
It's gonna
It's
need-
ours. And now we're gonna buy from them at, big numbers.
Because it's gonna take us 2 to 5 years to sell this. Anyway, you look at whatever program we go with, there's gonna be a timeline by the time when we start it.
But do we
Yeah.
have that time?
No, we don't, but I'm just saying realistically, by the time we
Yeah.
go and we sell it to the leaders and to the,
But I
to the
think-
players,
I
the
think-
main
I think
stakeholders.
If each one of us takes his perspective, the signing and says, hey, you put me here and this is what we need to do, and everybody's getting talked to, and whoever makes the motion is gonna be the one remembered.
Or do you want to take, back that you want to get a consultant involved and let them tell you, well, here's the cost for desal, that's the source of secondary water.
I think it's
Here's
already
the
been
cost
done.
for, here's the cost for piping it in,
It's already
here's the
been
pros
done.
and cons, and you need to say, here are your options. You could build Lake Casablanca larger, I don't know, just throwing everything out there on the
Everything,
page
yeah.
that you should have and
What's gonna
say,
stick, yeah.
okay, here's the cost, here's how fast this one would come, here's how much money, and this is how you could phase it in. And then you also, like I said, you have to talk about the water
How
quality
many
has
gallons
to
can you
match.
provide a day?
Right, water's not water.
Over 50 million a day.
So, I mean, that's the information that, but then they go, when the other appointee, appointed me, signing, said, yeah, but we don't need it. So that's why you appoint me on a secondary ad hoc committee, water committee. All because we hadn't created an appointed committee. But see, it's just like, we need to say that we have one. But it falls on our shoulders, because I've been asked, okay, so what have you done in the 2 years you've been there, 3 years?
I think this is serious, this is a big deal. This is-
And that, I'm
this
glad to hear
reflects
that you have
everybody.
that expertise behind you.
This is the future of Laredo.
That's it.
If they continue to stand by, Laredo will shrivel away.
Oh, hell yeah.
This zero development scared the shit out of me. Cities that hit zero development, they stagnate and they go backwards from there.
Yeah.
We're lucky that the council passed this and got it moving right along, because how many people would have just bypassed Laredo? I mean, they already bypassed us and started everything else outside of Laredo to see how it goes, and they finally come here. Imagine we were at the point where, well, yeah, you can't bring your national franchise here because, well, we're not growing anymore.
That's it.
I mean, just having worked in some of the infrastructure, there's a lot of opportunities that we can do. We're talking about our secondary water source. I just want to go back towards utility and seeing that the opportunities where we do have to, I see, is save some money and generate some additional revenues to kind of lessen that bite. You know, I think you talked about last time, you know, recycled water. How much of that do we sell? We don't have any purple pipe that we contribute towards. Adding solar to our facilities. You know, the plant that I just recently came from, we installed 2 solar farms on the floodplain area where it's a separation between you and the neighbor, and then it's not land that you can use anyways, and we're putting solar panels to reduce its large energy consumption. It's a large energy consumption, but it at least knocks it down a bit, and we're doing something proactively to do these things. You know, we sold, now 3 solar farms, and so that's just a small component, you know, converting our fleet to electric if you're gonna just be doing city miles. You know, obviously we need the diesel trucks if you're gonna be going out to the bigger, going down to the outfalls and going to Tesla lines and whatnot. But there's practical solutions that I think that we should be taking and making moves toward, because as a, you know, I talk to people all day long and they're like, "Hey, Jason, what are you gonna talk about this? And how do you apply these things to when people aren't making even rational decisions?" The water price goes up, you use less water. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but being poor, that's what happens, right? You use less when you don't have that much. And with the mindset of, you know, I just think, apaga la luz, no pagas el bill, my family. So I said, turn off the light because you don't pay the bill.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you work the city utilities or anywhere across the city, I think efficiency should be the key, you know, motion sensors inside the room. I know that's an investment, it's an investment for our savings down the line. And if we're not thinking along those lines, we're thinking about going and spending a lot more. I mean, I'm totally for it.
Isn't there an initiative right now for cities, municipalities to go solar?
Isn't this so
No.
such a
We had,
regulated market, so.
I can, what you just talked, I can tell you by my previous job was the environmental science.
I had read something.
We did it. I mean, city was the first one, and that's why I say the council at one time was very proactive. We were the first city, we have a public fueling station for CNG.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of CNG trucks. All our fleet, all our El Metro buses, almost 80% run on CNG.
That's one step.
I mean, if you know CNG, we are paying now about 70 cents, that's including 21 cents of operation and maintenance, 70 to 80 cents. But it's because of the manufacturer, I mean, everything is controlled by oil and gas. So they stopped producing CNG vehicles. When the gas was $4, the Ford and Chevy, they all O&M CNG vehicle. So now you see the gas.
The one up in charge.
Who's making all that noise?
Got a bunch of people looking for you.
Yeah, it's like our El Metro bus. They use average $25,000 to $30,000 worth of diesel every year, each bus. A CNG bus costs you extra $60,000. So you making that money in 2 years. Plus CNG is less maintenance. But those are the things it is tough to convince people.
The nation has taken a different direction.
Yeah, because it's all controlled by. We are the only country, if you look at the Europe, everything is mass transit because the oil companies are not active there. Now they are. But this country, because the mass transit was
That's
pump more
true.
money on highway trust fund, and which is broke now, and we can't even build highways. And now we are going back to mass transit, if you look at what bigger cities, because people don't wanna, I have my in-law live in Florida, every day they sit on almost 4 hours, go to work and come back. If you work in Austin, Houston, I mean, your commute time almost 3 hours.
I live in Illinois, Chicago.
May I ask this gentleman a
Let
question?
me just finish this one and then
Okay.
we can go, I have 2 more slides. And this is what basically the rate increase was. As I said, there are a lot of talk about this is for the new development, why should we pay for it, blah, blah, blah. Actually, if you look at it, this is almost 74% money is going to the existing system. And the question about, oh, so what about the other $45 million you're investing for the new growth? Yeah, because if you don't invest, they're not gonna come. You have to put the water line first before you start building the homes. I mean, you don't expect the developer build you a storage tank, which is a $10 million project, and you don't expect them to pay for that. You build it and you start charging them per lot or something, which we already charging them annexation fees, water availability fees. I know council is talking about impact fees. And so these are some of the things I think coming down pipeline faster, and unfortunately, you guys will be tasked with it. You guys will be the enemy of the developers and the, and the citizens, because whatever you do,
Or I'm more like the liaison.
That sounds good.
they will be screaming at you. Because which is always good for council, if a committee goes through it, because citizens come and complain, you listen. So when they go before, you guys come up with a decision, go before city council. If the citizens go and scream at theirs, council say, you already talked to them. They already listened to you.
It's kind of like your professor, you might not like everything they say, or your teacher, but.
You can make everybody happy.
Well, I've been on the Board of Adjustments, and I guarantee you this.
Yeah, it's like our hand, the 5 fingers are not same. So you can't make anybody happy.
Yeah, but this is a long-term solution, it's for the future growth and the future generation, because it's not, just like you said, things are gonna go backwards. We're gonna hit that point.
Yeah.
We have hit the point where this town has a choice, to grow or stay stagnant and not do anything else again. And then industries will be taken away from us, and we'll get back to that little dusty town.
And it's so sad, we already hit what, #1, did you see that?
Yeah,
Laredo,
right.
#1
Yeah.
inland port.
Yeah.
We could be short on water.
And just look at it, I know there is a lot of thing about El Pico. Look at what he's building on that area. We are able to bring a lot of those cold storage.
Nobody
Just-
looks at that,
Nobody
nobody thinks
looks
of
at
that,
that. And each cold storage, if you look at the US cold storage, the first rate they invest close to $50 million.
People are looking at Mines Road area now, because those people that live out there, that have 10 acres, that was valued at $80,000 for 10 acres, just got their new tax bills, and they're valued at $800,000. Their taxes are going up to 15 to 20,000 a year. You think I got some phone calls, we'll go do some BTO? He's an appraiser. I don't want to
We
get-
met 2 months ago, a new investor, they are gonna build another cold storage, right next to El Pico.
They live up there.
Well, that-
Because they have plenty of
Commercial
water,
now.
they know.
Yeah, right there too, I mean, you're talking, what, that first phase was 900 acres, and they bought another 900, almost 2,000 acre commercial development.
And a lot of
69
people don't
acres out in the middle
know
of nowhere.
that we are also the only city in the border which has refrigerated inspection facility. So all the produce doesn't have to get out from the
Where's
trucks.
the preference?
McAllen doesn't have those.
I was just at the bridge right now, and they said they brought in some clients from McAllen over a meeting they had in San Antonio. They were taking 3 days to cross McAllen. They'd send them to Laredo, and they cross the same day. Those are the efficiencies that are.
And that's with the computers down and everything.
Not doing that, yeah.
Make sure we get that front page.
That is,
Yeah, well, in San Antonio
That story
Express
out
today.
there. Yeah, so did you see that? That
I
article?
came to this community in 1983 from Carrizo Springs, little one horse town. Laredo was, when you made the last crest up there and you looked at the town, there was a bowl of dirt like that. And I came here to help improve the communications. And a 5-year plan, I was supposed to fire a bunch of people and leave and hold my laurels in there and get promoted, move way up. And at the end of 5 years, I hadn't made a dent into this community, you know, how backwards it was. And I've gotten old here. And I see today what I saw in 1983, and that is a stymied town that is not looking to be any bigger than it is already, because it's, if you live in South Laredo and you want to come to the north, it's a 45-minute drive when it used to be 3 minutes. I used to take my boat to the yard, get out of work at 4, by 5 o'clock be in a watered Falcon Lake or something like that. You can't do that anymore. So we have changed. The mentality here hasn't changed. We're still back in the 1980s, 1990s. And if we go back there, there's going to be people devastated in their investments and everything else. So what is key? Growth. We're not having the growth. And it's because we're not educating our leaders. They take an office, but there's nobody there to educate them beyond what they're sitting there to do. And I think that's our responsibility as far as the Utilities Committee, to take it back to our leaders and say, hey guys, you need to wake up. We need you to really pay attention to what we're gonna start telling you. Cement the secondary water source, find a way we're gonna use it, because we gotta flow water through there. We just can't have a pipe with a cap on it just in case we needed something here, because something happened upriver. Incorporate it in the way we're doing utilities, build a water plant up here in North Town, distribute to those areas, really, you know. And you guys, Mike and Lulu, you guys are the experts. I have a young man here that sounds like he knows what the hell he's talking about. We want to put him to task, you know.
Exactly what I moved down here
Yeah,
for.
and the bottom line is, this town here is really earmarked for greatness if we continue to grow. We can't continue to grow if we can't provide the utilities.
So,
And that was one of the things why I came here. There was no streets paved. It took 10 years for me to move cables and repair damages, and I worked so close with the city manager and all the utility guys, because our cables were all over the road, because they're just dirt roads. The contractor buried most of it. We have to move everything out of the way. It's a career, all right? And we finally got it there. Now we don't need those copper cables, because we're going fiber, we're going airwaves, cell phones have taken over. So, but the communications continue to transition, but we don't. And I'm gonna end it with this. I used to walk into Petula's barbecue place there on McPherson. And how many remember Simon Villarreal? And I learned a word that I never heard before, adjudicated. And he would go to every city council meeting and have his 3 minutes and talk about the adjudication of the third lake that has never been built because it's on Briscoe land for a water source for Laredo. Because he had a vision that Laredo was gonna someday wake up, become an industrious place, and which we are now. And I thank him for opening my eyes back then, back 84, 85. But people would laugh at him. People would laugh at him on what he would bring up. And I always think about him, because we could be laughed out of this position we're in real quick if they don't understand what we're talking about. And I didn't understand what he was talking about, because he brought up the same point. It was adjudicated in 1951 for the third lake, and we never got it. And Michael says, what the hell, we need a third lake, we got Falcon, right? But the valley controls the water.
Mm-hmm. The Falcon is for Valley,
The
it's
Valley.
not for us.
And so, yeah, that's what I'm getting at, that they control the water that flows by. Nobody ever thought about controlling it, right? If somebody had sat down and seen the vision and interpreted what he was talking about, we may have been able to do something better. But so we're here again. We're having Simon Villarreal, that's all of us here. They're willing to serve. And I think it's to our benefit that we start talking to our council, and it's right. Because we get appointed and we meet and they don't ask and we don't tell. That's the big mistake, you know? That's the big mistake. I think we've got a few
Yeah,
board members
yes.
that are progressive.
I mean, this is, even as going back to after rate increase, we will be still one of the lowest. And as I tell you, we don't need to be the lowest, we just need to provide the quality water and adequate water. And same thing on the commercial side. And so this pretty much the presentation is. I mean, we are only looking at next 5 years. This doesn't include secondary water source, this doesn't include what's gonna happen in next 40 years. We do have master plan for next 40 years, and when I threw the number, nobody wanna ever listen.
No,
What are you
that's
talking about?
too far down the road.
$800 million.
That's why I say, well, go, I won't be here, but what you
Yeah.
got, right?
Yeah. That might be
So-
113.
So unfortunately, that's where we are, and hopefully you guys will get more involved, because as I said, we're gonna go out for request for proposal to hire a consultant to come up with a new master plan, but this will include all kind of water source, how can we have alternate source, and also look at the use, look at what we can do. The council want more community involved. I think you guys will be the best way to go, because you can't tell people come and give your input, then you're gonna have a bunch of chaos. You need to have some people who knows they're talking about. You know, the first thing in everybody's mind, first thing they're gonna, you're gonna do master plan, that means you're gonna increase my rate. Yeah, it needs to go up. Nothing is fixed.
Oh, I think, and the more we educate, so I used to, out of sight, out of mind, right? Once I flushed the toilet, I
That's
didn't
it.
give a
I'm done.
But after working at the wastewater treatment plant, I mean, I value our operators much more than I'd ever thought I would. I'd give a hug to an operator just because what they do for your city, you have no idea.
no idea.
I always would call them the hidden ninjas on our team. In San Antonio, that's where I spent my time on the east side, and we would come across some of these situations that if you had no idea what was happening, you might as well be lost and you believe anything they told you, But if you understand, well, the system is fed by the residents and it goes through your collection lines and it makes it to the plant, and the plant then has microorganisms, the little bugs, and we used to teach about that on, the water bears versus the cichlid, you know what I'm talking about. And so you start educating on what the actual system is allowing you to live your life the way you do.
Yeah.
You become to appreciate it a lot more, and I think that's where.
Yeah, we're
missing it.
I can tell you, after all this thing, because my wife gets all these people, just all the ladies talk to her and give her all kind of thing. Your husband is an idiot, blah, 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 all kind of stuff. So,
That's
last
tough
Sunday,
love,
the
tough
previous Sunday, I said, honey, let me take you to sewer plant. What do you mean? So I dragged her to take to sewer plant. And I showed her how we process it, and she was like, you say, yeah, when you flush the toilet, this is what is coming, and this is what is coming out. She was amazed to see that.
What people will flush.
That's
So
a
I
whole
blame the
other-
kids.
So I think that's a component we need to drive, is that educational component, inviting the schools out, inviting, them to come do a tour, because if you don't have eyes on it and see what happens, you're not gonna get it.
See,
Well,
that's
that's
a great
why-
idea. Instead of wasting money on some movies at the park, BS, this is a great way to spend money. That discretionary fund money could be educational wise. And that's just one utility. Take it a step further. 1% of all water on earth is drinkable. We're down to less than 15% of that 1%. Right now.
Down to the wire.
That scares the shit out of me. because I
It
got
was
grandkids.
saying, reminds me of, I'm on the
100%
lab
of
for
it is
AgriLife,
treatable.
Webb County Extension Service,
Yeah,
and we take to the schools,
yeah,
to the
but
kids. like,
in farming, pH balance means everything. The water, the soil, if you want the crop to grow correctly. In Australia, they treat it so much it doesn't even form crystals anymore. It's like you can drink it, it'll hydrate you, but for a crop, if you're a farmer, that water ain't gonna help your crop grow. And I'm really into that. That's the other thing.
But it's kind of what we do with Extension Service. We pick a school, and we talk to the elementary kids, and we bring the cows out there, and we bring this, and bring pigs, and everything else, you can see the animals. And then we go to the classroom, and we break out, and says, okay, how many have ever eaten a dead cow? And the response is, ew. What about a dead chicken? Oh. How many have eaten hamburgers? Everybody. How many have eaten fried chicken? Oh. Well, you ate a dead cow and a dead chicken. No. And so, the response is, no, our meat comes from HEB.
Yeah.
I said, how do you think the meat got to the cow? They think there's a machine making it.
Why don't you just go buy your meat at HEB?
Right, exactly, I was told that. Why are you out there killing deer? Why don't you just go buy your meat at HEB?
Ignorance is something
You're
we're
right.
just gonna have to battle for.
But this is the biggest problem with everything in society today. And whosoever said it, if it's not on Google or whatever,
Facebook.
it's not true. It could be the biggest lie. If it's not there, it's not true. So with that in mind, and I really would love for us to pick one project and take it back to our signees and have them understand where we're coming from. And if we have to, we can pick 2 or 3, bring them into our workshop. We don't have to meet once every 6 months or every month. Might be do it a little more often.
Yeah.
To hone in the idea of what their real job as a councilman is. And I don't fault them, believe me, I don't fault them, because they're seeing what the other guy's doing. And the other guy is doing a piñata party, I'm gonna do one too. And the other has a clowns. I'm
Movie
gonna have
night,
clowns
movie
too.
night,
Movie
movie
night,
night.
I'm gonna do movie night.
Movie night.
I want a 4th of July, $25,000-$30,000 blowout, because you all did it over there.
$50,000 Christmas tree.
Right.
But why don't we hone in on a couple of these secondary water source projects, and let's put it together in a good format, and really refine it here between us and get it looking good in a good format, so then we can have it, and then we can,
We penetrate.
we can sell it.
Yeah,
You know, we can sell it to where we need to, but we need to have it in the
individual
format with all the
council.
data and in the right.
And then we go as a group to the city
Right.
council and present it to the city
Right.
council. That's the only way it's gonna get approved. We can't expect them to send them something.
Right, right.
Look what one of our board members accomplished without our consent or knowledge. Goes in front of the city
Beat the hell
council
out of us pretty bad.
and basically bashes the committee he's assigned to, and says that the people here with self-interest,
Yeah.
and gets the city council to make a motion and second it and vote it in, that we're no longer the secondary water ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about water.
Yeah. I mean, it probably gave us a better name. Now, ad hoc,
Yeah.
we have,
Right.
all I did was make our umbrella larger.
Right.
You know, we
But-
can find more water.
He went with malice. He went with
We can, you know, I
malice.
mean,
And
he
gave us-
kind of helped us out.
Yeah, he gave us
Yeah.
bigger teeth.
Yeah.
Because it's not no longer one subject. We can encompass it all. And that's what I'm saying, that I saw him the other day. and we
Which
were
is,
chatting.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
I didn't chastise him for it and everything else. I was gonna go to city council and raise all kinds of, I said, wait a minute. He did us a favor.
He
You know,
did.
He did.
Thank
But
you.
without thinking, he
Right,
did us a
right.
favor. All right. So, thank you for the presentation. I'm sorry, we didn't follow the agenda, but we did have a section there for public comments. I know, Ruben, you're here. We've heard your spiel before. I don't know if you want to do it again. I'll give you 3 minutes to.
Actually, there's about 3 big things that have happened since the
Okay.
last time I made a pitch here, you know.
Yeah.
And the first one is that I've attended the council meetings, and one thing that I wanted to ask the gentleman here, because since this sale of, I believe there are certificates of obligation, I mean, you're putting an increase for the next 20 years every year, and the citizens are gonna notice it. And I asked you because you said you were working in San Antonio with the system with it. And when they proposed the water increases up in San Antonio to bring in a pipeline to bring water to the city, they proposed a certain amount of money it would cost the taxpayers. But I was in Corpus Christi at a city council meeting with Mayor Joe McCombs and Frank Brogan, you might have heard him, he's from San Antonio. And he told the council that from when they had the first increase, and the cost it was gonna cost them, which I think was between 500 and 600 million to bring that water in. He testified in front of the city that it's now over $2.5 billion.
Yeah, it is.
And you talk about an increase of rate of water, it's just becoming so, it's gonna cost more than oil probably now. And that's why I wanted to ask you if you're aware of that huge increase, that now the bill's gonna be over $2.5 billion.
Yeah, I think a lot of it held with the construction of the pipeline. It was 142 miles to go up to Burleson County, the Vista Ridge pipeline, and the entire city of San Antonio was largely against it. And you know, it did, their numbers, their projection wasn't what they said, and so it ended up being higher, and they're left to foot the bill. Now, San Antonio had this same conversation we had 20 years ago with the Edwards Aquifer Authority deciding on what's gonna be our secondary water source, because San Antonio only lived off of the aquifer.
Yeah.
We're the seventh largest city in the US, solely lives off an aquifer, and they're shooting themselves in the foot, not better for worse, they have military bases, but what happens on a military base does not always stay on a military base. There's creeks that flow through.
Right.
And so they had to make this decision, and I do agree, and some of the decisions they made were in the best financial interest for all the citizens because of the diverse incomes. But these are decisions we have to make, and I know that increase, and one of the things that San Antonio kind of has an advantage over we did, they're storing their water in an aquifer.
That's an
So they're
ASR, the
doing-
pipeline going into the
Yeah,
ASR.
ASR, they're doing aquifer recharge or storage recharge, and so
Right.
we would have to build something that they have naturally, and so these are,
Yeah,
again, things that we have to consider, but, you know, you.
Well, we got one,
geography-
76 miles away, ready to go.
It's, yeah, like
No,
you
but
said, the
it's-
cost is just.
Yeah, so it's, that's what I was
Oh, yeah.
wondering, you know, if we're saying, so, I haven't seen the full presentation, I've caught parts of it in conversations with a lot of people, and that's just another thing that comes to mind, it's like, okay, well, we have anticipated costs and you have actual costs, right?
Right.
And then to maintain the system, if we can't even maintain what's under our feet right now, not that you guys are doing a great job, but just collectively, if we can't maintain what's underneath our feet, then what makes me believe that you're gonna take care of it 100 miles away in Ensenada or from here to there? And so just, I want all these things at play, and I do understand that we do need to go for a secondary water source. What way it comes, I mean, you know, City of Brownwood does recycled water. It sounds a little yucky, but,
That's why they call it Brownwood.
It's not, it's
I know, it sounds yucky, but
These
it's
golf course in California
It's
does
every-
recycled water.
well, every city
None
does
of that
recycled
water is
water.
potable, and not one person will wash their balls with that fucking water.
But every city, so my brother likes to drink.
Drink it?
bottled
Would
water.
you let your
Shout out to my
grandchildren drink it?
No, people don't even know what they drink. They drink other things besides water.
Tequila.
Tequila.
But I think we need to refocus on what our job is, what we've been.
I would like to add a few more
This is
comments
new.
there, if you don't mind,
But
sir.
I think the whole key here is going to be getting back to our councilmen, make them understand. If we have to do a couple little workshops, and then take it to them as a collective government to make a motion and pass it, because we don't have that power. And if they don't, then we've done our job, you know? And right to this point, we really haven't done much except not have direction in which way we were gonna go. Because the council back then was gonna give us direction, they didn't, they changed council again, and now we're back here trying to reorganize basically and move forward. But it's a worthwhile endeavor. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think it was. But I do go back to when I heard Mr. Villarreal mention adjudication, that we do have, there's the law sit there for the third leg. But we wouldn't have control, the valley would have control of the third leg, so fight for that. Let's fight for something else, you know.
Let's fight for something for we have to.
That we have control, exactly, yeah. I wouldn't mind signing a contract over here with them and start selling water to everybody else, right?
I actually, last time I spoke to Howard, I told him, you stop trying to sell the water.
Yeah.
Just stop, because there's gonna come a day where they're gonna come begging to
Begging
you,
for it.
and then you just triple the price.
He played Little League for me when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like, it's,
He's one of my little boys. Old man
It's-
now.
If you don't mind, I'd like to maybe make a couple of suggestions.
Sure.
I work for Dimmitt Utility. One of the things I could suggest to you all, just an offer. I feel like I'm your consultant, but I'm not your consultant. But by the same token, several months ago, I was at the city council meeting, and the mayor offered me an opportunity to give an update to the council. And I told him that we were ready, we're willing and able to provide that frozen RFP that exists. But as a committee, I would suggest maybe you almost want to go back 10 years and look at those options, because there were 10 when that RFP came out, there were over 10 companies that applied for secondary water.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can go back and look at that original request and the people that applied. And it was interesting because they all had different options, water from different sources. And I think the gentleman here made a good point that we need to look at what's available, we're not trying to go back and reinstate and go through another RFP type of thing, because that's very costly, et cetera. But it is available in writing somewhere.
Yeah.
And I do have a list of several copies in my car about all the individual companies that did apply. You might want to go back and look at that. Secondly, you might want to go back and look at why our company was selected. And I believe I presented a slide to the council on the overhead, why we were selected. And this committee didn't exist, not even the secondary water committee exists, and not the mayor or any councilman were around at that time when that offer came about. So that would be a second item that I would recommend, maybe y'all want to do and look at that. It might take some time, but it would be a good point to do. The other thing is that we believe we have an obligation that if the council tomorrow would just say, hey, guys, we need to get going, et cetera, and we have to, legally, literally, we have to satisfy that obligation, unless we're just thrown out the window and whatever, but still there's an obligation on our part. However, this legislative session offered a lot of opportunity in water. You may or may not know, but there were over 27 bills involving water. I mean, all over from reclamation to finding water to correct the rainy problems of Hurricane Harvey, etc. And one of the good things that's available is that since I gave the last update, one of the things is Thursday and Friday just last week, McAllen hosted a convention for 2 days entitled Water Reuse. And I've had the privilege of visiting San Antonio where they're doing the brown water, as they call it. But it's called Water Reuse. 2 days at this conference. And McAllen is already looking at how can they treat that water and make it drinkable. A company was pushing their water called AZ, like Arizona tea, but it's called AZ Pure. And it's recycled water. I've drank that bottles from San Antonio myself. I've gone there and what they're doing with it, because we have to start looking for what water is available, because there's no new water. But believe it or not, South Texas does have new water because it's not being used. And that is what the water we were offering. However, one of the laws that came about is that now, thanks to State Representative Gonzalez from El Paso, and they have a desal plant up there, they're also looking at reusing water. They passed a law that now they can be, I haven't read the law completely, I'm thumbing through it and trying to decipher it because it happened on the last day of the bills could be presented. And it states that there can be public-private ventures for grants. That was never the case before. Now, as we speak, I would invite one of you guys that might want to go to Corpus Christi June 4th, that's just a week away. Texas Water Development Board is having a workshop to apply for grants.
Yeah.
And we have
Actually,
to.
we're gonna go, me, Mike, and
Oh, wonderful.
so.
Well, in the meantime, we.
So let us know if you guys wanna go, I can just send them the names.
I'd like to go.
You can just-
I'd like to go.
And we are applying for a grant ourselves, if that's the case. But I don't know if the law, I think the law goes into effect 1 September, but still it takes some time to write out those proposals. Now, the reason we're going is because since then, we have had an invitation to go to Edinburgh, Texas. And as I hold in my hand, there's a memorandum of understanding what we can do for Edinburgh. Sherryland Water District, which supplies a lot of the water for McAllen, we're also present there in this function, and they've invited us, and they're looking at a similar MOU. What enticed them to do that is that we had in our original proposal to the RFP, we had 2 different possible routes. One was follow the Rio Grande River if we went all the way to the valley. The other one was to go through Corpus Christi and then down to the valley. We've now since created a new route specifically for Edinburgh and bypass anybody and everybody. But what we did is, I showed it to the gentleman on the back page. These are the people that we're calling midstream. San Diego Water District, Alice, a refinery that's supposed to be built out there, and Benavides. We had a meeting in Alice, Texas, and county judge from Duval was there, a lot of other people were there. And they proposed that they would come on board with this request for money from the Water Development Board. it's so exciting that not only that, San Diego, I get that with San Benito, and I've got a lot of Santos. They also have a prison. And we got a request from all of them that if we could go into this grant before, we had all this meeting before we found out about this new bill that just happened. But all of them can join in, and we're applying for a multi-million-dollar grant. I visited with Dr. Schultz, some of you might know him, I'm with the Texas Water Development Board. I've spent time with two of the commissioners up there, and they were eager to jump into a proposal that would have what we're doing, private financing of a pipeline. And for anybody that signs up on this pipeline, there would be enough money for them to sign up, because we know nobody has money. And they said, hey, I think that's worthwhile because we want to get water to everybody that needs it, to include hundreds of colonias specifically in the valley. So this grant is going to be about that, and that's what we're going to be there on June 4th, if you already know about it. But our MOU includes that anybody that signs up to our pipeline, if Laredo signs on to this MOU, everybody signs up will be their customers. You talk about possibility of at least making a little bit of money to pay for the expenses, maybe even for the obligation bonds, I don't know. But along the way, we believe that there's enough need, and we can supply them all. To include Alice, San Diego, Freer, Valfurrias, etc. Because there needs to be a second unit of water everywhere, because droughts are coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So anyway, this is our proposal to Edinburgh, because they came to us, and that is included in that. And we started off because we had a request from the Economic Development Corporation of Edinburgh. Now, a lot of things have happened in the meantime. Everybody knows what happened in Westlaco with their water plant. Everybody knows what happened with the mayor in Edinburgh. So there's a lot of things that have intervened into our negotiations with them. Our RFP still stands here with you. And the other thing is that the last law that was just passed on the last day, it was very intriguing, and I think that they're looking forward to that, because a lot of cities cannot apply. They don't have grant writers, they don't have people that can do it. And I was in Austin with the Water Development Board for over an hour with Dr. Schultz. And then they said that they would be willing to work that to hook on people that cannot afford to hook on there. As an example, San Diego Water District, Mr. Rudy Torres was there. He gave us, I also went the next day, I went up to Benavides, and he put in a request for $4.5 million for his water district, because they need to replace the water tower at the prison, they need to replace pipes, they need compressors, they need generators. And we said, okay, put it all in there. So that's a package that's gonna go into that request for money. And the same can happen for a lot of other cities. I'm very confident we're gonna be successful in getting a multi-million-dollar grant for people along the way. And I'm just giving you this information because those are really three major things that have happened. And I believe that since we have that RFP in our hands, and you do too, we believe that it was my obligation to come and share that with you, because you need to know some of the things we're doing also. We're not trying to hide anything from anybody, but as we stand here, hundreds of gallons, millions of gallons are going down the drain just by that.
It would be real easy, we could just tie in there, Freer, Heavenville, we'll just tie in, we'll just do a little T right here and back to Laredo.
The only difference is that whoever signs on the agreement is gonna have access to a lot of water extra that you may not need today, but you might need in the future. But let's say that Corpus Christi's try to get a grant also, say, a few years from now, because that city is more broke into the negative than even Laredo or any other city in Texas. They do want desalinization, but it'll cost roughly about $150 million to produce 100 million gallons. But there's so much opposition to it. The United Nations against it. The Rice University is against it. Two mayors from Aransas Pass and Port Aransas and all, they don't want that because the Bay of Corpus Christi is stationary. It's not a flowing, it's not connected to the Gulf of Mexico. Further, almost 10 months ago, they lost a big lawsuit that the refineries sued them for overtaxation. And the agony of that, it goes not only to Corpus Christi and Oasis County, but they're gonna have to repay hundreds of million dollars, which is affecting the city, the county, the college district, and the school district. They have to repay all this money back. And then last year in February, you recall, the city of Corpus borrowed $52 million to repay just the interest on the Mary Rhodes pipeline. Just the interest. They still owe about $380 million on that pipe. In our proposal, we're paying for it.
What are they gonna have rates?
And just like the gentleman said, this new one, the San Antonio building, it's over 2.5 billion. What started out as 600 million. And the price of water is not going down, not at all. And I feel obligated to share these things with you because I have friends and family here in Laredo. I have friends and family here. As a matter of fact, your third largest water user here, he and I were in college together. We went to law school together. And that's Mr. Ramos. I think everybody knows him, but he's your third largest water user. And he says, Ruben, what are you? I said, I can't talk about it. You need to talk with your folks in the city council, whatever. But those obligations are upon us. And that's why I want to take a few moments. I appreciate your attention, but I just wanted to let you all know what we as a utility company are doing. And we're still here to serve Laredo the best we can. And if you want us to come back and do a little workshop with you to update you on anything else, or you ask us questions so y'all can know, but those are the 3 points I wanted to share with you. One is go back to see who the original were. Look at that proposal that was on the table already, which we're ready to serve at any time, and the opportunities that are in the future. And if you're looking for a third source of water, if the desal plant ever gets made, which a lot of people are doubting it'll happen. Corpus Christi also made a commitment to the ExxonMobil plant for 20 million gallons, and they cannot fulfill that obligation. And they're trying to bypass that offer because they made a commitment. And it's your own senator from here was supporting not the annexation that Corpus did of that refinery land. But there's a lot of things in the political arena that are happening that affects water in Laredo. I thank you for listening to me, to give you that little update, but I'm willing to answer any questions you would like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chairman, we're gonna have another meeting at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Come on, we're having a good time.
I need a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I did, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We
All
will
in
try
favor?
to have
Aye.
this meeting
Aye.
every month.